Welcome back to Fear Factor Friday, the series where I break down the psychology, craft, and storytelling techniques that make horror truly terrifying. Each episode takes a specific fear and explores why it works, how creators use it, and why it lingers with us long after the story ends. Today's fear is one of the most disturbing and personal in the entire genre: losing control of your own mind. When horror turns inward, when memory fractures, perception becomes unreliable, and thoughts turn against you, there's no monster you can run from. The danger isn't external anymore, it's internal, and that makes it incredibly difficult to escape. Your mind is your primary survival tool. It's where you assess danger, make decisions, recognize patterns, and determine what's real. Even in the most extreme horror scenarios, characters rely on their minds to navigate fear. So when horror stories attack that, when they undermine memory, logic, or perception, they remove the last piece of safety a character has. This is why losing control of your mind feels more terrifying than physical injury. A broken leg can heal, a locked door can be forced open, but a fractured mind means you no longer trust the tool you need to survive. Horror understands this. That's why mental collapse is rarely sudden. It's slow, incremental, and subtle. At first, something feels off. A missed detail, a strange thought, a moment of confusion. And then those cracks widen until the character and the audience can no longer tell what's real. One of the most effective techniques horror uses is unreliable perception. When a character can't trust what they're seeing or hearing, the audience can't either. This creates a unique kind of fear, not the sharp spike of jump scare, but a sustained, gnawing tension. You start asking questions. Did that really happen? Was that sound real? Is that a memory or a fabrication? And crucially, if the character is wrong about this, what else are they wrong about? Horror thrives in this uncertainty. The audience becomes trapped inside the character's fractured experience. You're not just watching fear, you're sharing it. This is why mental horror feels exhausting in the best way. It demands constant engagement. There's no stable ground to stand on. Agency is the ability to act with intention. In horror, agency is survival. When a character loses control of their mind, they lose that agency. They can't plan effectively. They can't interpret danger correctly. They can't trust their instincts because those instincts might be compromised. This is where mental horror becomes truly crucial. The character may want to escape. They may want to fight back, but their own mind sabotages them. Decisions are delayed. Reactions are flawed. Doubt creeps in at exactly the wrong moment. For a storytelling perspective, this is devastating and incredibly effective. The monster doesn't need to overpower the character physically. The mind does that work on its own. What makes this fear so compelling is how horror externalizes internal struggle. Anxiety becomes paranoia, trauma becomes hallucination, guilt becomes obsession. Grief becomes delusion. Horror takes very real mental and emotional experiences and exaggerates them into threats that feel tangible. The audience recognizes the emotional truth, even if the extreme events themselves are extreme. This is why stories about losing your mind feel so intimate. They don't rely on spectacle, they rely on empathy. You may not have faced a supernatural threat, but you've probably experienced doubt, stress, or moments where your thoughts felt unreliable. Horror exploits that familiarity and pushes it just far enough to become terrifying. Unlike many horror fears, losing control of your mind doesn't end when the threat disappears. You can kill a monster, you can escape a location, you can survive an attack. But mental collapse leaves a residue. Once a story introduces the idea that your perception can't be trusted, that idea sticks. You start questioning everything, even after the scene ends. That lingering doubt is why this fear stays with audiences longer than most. It doesn't just scare you in the moment, it reframes how you think about safety, control, and reality itself. Horror doesn't need to remind you of it. Your own thoughts do that for free. From a craft perspective, losing control of the mind is one of horror's most versatile tools. It works in any setting, doesn't require elaborate effects, scales from subtle unease to full psychological collapse, allows audiences to project their own fears into the story. For writers and filmmakers, it's a way to create fear that feels personal rather than performative. The horror comes from identification, not observation. You don't just watch someone lose their grip on reality, you feel what that loss might be like. So the next time a horror story makes you question what's real, pay attention. That confusion isn't accidental. It's the point. Horror is putting you inside a mind that's beginning to fail and asking you to survive there. Now, if you like diving deeper into what makes horror truly terrifying, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. If you're a writer looking for ways to improve your stories, subscribe to my Substack where I share writing tips and advice. And if you want more horror and writing related content, you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, all linked in my bio. So, until next time, hold on to your thoughts because once they slip, the fear takes over.